Okay, so we have the header in place for our wireframe layout, and you also got a run through on working with the transform panel, including the X and Y coordinates. I hope that makes sense. Now, in this exercise, I want to set up the main navigation menu and also a placeholder for our slideshow for our wireframe layout. So let's see here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take our existing header, which you and I created. The main navigation menu is going to appear underneath the header. He's going to be the same width as the header. He's just going to be a little bit narrower. So let's start with this. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the header that you and I created and I'm going to copy him and then simply adjust his height for the main navigation menu. Okay, so here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to hold down Option here on the Mac or Alt on the Windows side. And by the way, don't forget, I'm still on my black arrow tool way up in the top corner of the toolbox while I'm doing this, okay? So on the Mac side, Option, Windows side, Alt. Notice what happens to my cursor. I get this sort of this double arrow here. And if I click and drag out, I'm going to create for myself a copy of the object that I clicked and dragged on, which is great. That's exactly what we want. But give me a second here. I'm just going to undo Control Command Z on my keyboard. I'm gonna be a little bit more careful about this when I do this. Check this out. Once again, I'm going to hold down Option or Alt, and I'm going to click and drag on the object. But I'm also going to throw in Shift. And what that will do is that will lock the object to the nearest 45-degree angle. Because I want the menu directly underneath the header, right? So something like this. And I'm just going to let go, and there's our copy. Perfect. All right, now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to my transform panel, and all I'm going to do is change the height on this guy from 130 pixels to just 35 pixels. This is the height value, don't forget, inside the transform panel. Hit Enter to lock that in, and there's our menu ready to go. Nice and easy. All right, now what I want to do as well is I want to reposition this guy so he's right up underneath the header. So give me a second here. I'm just going to zoom all the way in on this. Don't forget Control or Command plus on your keyboard, something like this. And we can zoom way in on this guy if we want. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my up arrow key on my keyboard just to nudge this guy up. Something like that is exactly what I want. So I want the two objects to touch, just like that. So the bottom edge of the header should touch the top edge of the navigation. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. All right, now to zoom out, you can use Control or Command minus, or you could try hitting Control or Command 0 if you want to zoom all the way out. Something like this is just fine. Might want to zoom back in just a little bit. There we go. Something like this. All right, so there's the main navigation menu. Very lovely. Let's now go after the slideshow for our wireframe object. And I think what I'll do is I'll change it up here once again for you. You saw that we could just haphazardly click and drag out a rectangle and then use the free transform panel to go and set them up. Instead, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you another option for building out your wireframe objects. So what I'm going to do here is, once again, I'm going to go and grab my rectangle tool out of the toolbox over on the left-hand side. And rather than clicking and dragging with this guy, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to single click anywhere on the canvas, single click anywhere on the page. And we're presented with this rectangle dialog box. So what we can do here inside this rectangle dialog box is we can specify the dimensions for the object that we want to create as the object is getting created. Pretty cool. So I've single clicked here, I'm inside the rectangle dialog box, and I'm going to go and type in the dimensions for the slideshow wireframe placeholder that I want to create. So his width is going to be 840 pixels. I'll tap my tab key to advance forward to the height frame, and this guy's height is going to be 300 pixels, just like this. So 840 by 300, okay? And then go ahead and click on OK, and you and I are given an object that uses the dimensions that you and I just specified. Okay, wonderful stuff. There we go. Okay, great. Now, I'm going to head back to my black arrow tool at the top of the toolbox. Okay, there's our slideshow placeholder. Let me get my transform panel out of the way here so we can see this guy. Now, the other thing that I want to do is I want to take this object that you and I have just created, and I want to make sure that he's centered on the artboard. So, in other words, I want the same amount of space on his left side as on the right-hand side. So I want to make sure that he's centered horizontally, in other words. Okay? So, I mean, I could eyeball this. Actually, that's not looking too bad just like that. But, I could eyeball it, but instead I think what I'll do is I'll get Illustrator to do all the hard work for me, okay? Because I want to make sure that this wireframe is precise. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this guy off, right? So obviously he needs to be aligned. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to my transform panel, and hidden behind my transform panel, I have my align panel. Now, if you don't have your align panel there, once again, just head to your window menu and look for align. Now, inside the Align panel, I'm going to head to the Align panel's option menu right here, and I'm going to choose Show Options. And then way down in the bottom right-hand corner, we have Align To. I'm going to click on this little drop-down, and I want to say Align to Artboard. So we have 3 different choices here. The 2 most common are Align to a selection or Align to the artboard or the page itself. So I want to align to the page. Okay, so make sure you choose Align to Artboard there. Okay, and then inside the Align panel, of course, I still have my slideshow objects selected there down on the artboard. So inside the Align panel, I'm going to choose this option right here, Horizontal Align Center. A single click, and now this object is aligned to the center of the page, just like that. So if I want to, I can use my up arrow key just to nudge this guy up towards the top of the layout, maybe something like that. There we go, perfect. So oftentimes I will use the Align panel to help me out, to help me wireframe out and create more accurate wireframes as I'm building out the layout